Hello and welcome to the Rank and Report football show from Washington, D.C. to London, England. I am your host, Adam Booker, and I'm joined, as I always am, by Mr. Charlie Gordon. How you doing, Charlie?
I'm very well, mate. I'm absolutely ecstatic to be, filming some new content here. We've got a very exciting concept. On top of that, we're filming in the daytime, so I'm lovely and energised. I'm looking out to beautiful, sunny Hounslow out of the window, to a palm tree in the garden. So I don't know what joker put a palm tree in my garden here in Hounslow, but all things are looking up today. How are you doing?
I'm pretty sure that most palm trees you see around the world are not native. I'm pretty sure they're only native to like some small Pacific islands. So when you go through California and stuff, none of those are native to that area. So there's your little factoid for the day.
Yeah, but it would make sense because, this one's not looking too healthy at the moment. All the leaves are brown. But, yeah, that is a nice little fact. Thanks.
Yeah, they're certainly not native to Hounslow, London. No. But, yeah, like Charlie said, we're back with a brand new segment. We will explain what that segment is in a quick second. But real quick, I just want to encourage everybody to hit the subscribe button down below if you haven't already. And hit the notification bell to be notified whenever we release a new video. We are still doing our Away Days Mystery Kit giveaway right now. There's about 6 days left in that. So you can hit the card in the top right corner of your video right now. It will take you to our most recent Power Rankings video. And at the very beginning of that video is all the instructions on how you can enter to win an Away Days Mystery Kit. All right, Charlie, should we get into our brand new segment?
I think we should. Let's tell the people about our new concept, which is called Club Rebuild, isn't it, Adam? Go for it. Go and tell everyone what it's all about.
Yes, we are coining this segment Club Rebuild. So basically, we're going to take a club that we feel is on the verge of a rebuild, perhaps, or maybe is, in a bad patch of form, and we're going to figure out what the problems are. We're going to kind of act as directors of football in a way, and we're going to rebuild the club. So there's going to be a hint of fantasy about this. It's going to be within realistic means. We're not just going to take our club and say they should sign Messi, Ronaldo, and Erling Haaland, and that'll fix all their problems. It's going to be like our transfer videos, if anyone has watched those. So there's going to be a hint of reality. Money's going to come into play, and it's all going to be within the club's realistic means. So I think it'll be a good time, Charlie.
Yeah, and realistically is the key word here. We're not going to dismantle. We're not saying 11 players out, we're getting Messi, Ronaldo, Neymar in. We're actually trying to realistically look at what they should do in the next transfer window, and we're trying not to heave too much money at it either. And we're going to try and throw in some hipster choices, because me and Adam love hipster choices. I, as a viewer, love hipster choices, so I'm hoping our lovely viewing audience will get used to some more hipster choices as well. So yeah, it'll be a good one.
Absolutely. All right, right before we get started, I've got something fun that I wanted to try out on everybody, and that is a new little weekly riddle I'm going to do. So I was sitting last night, bored out of my mind, as I normally am during lockdown, and I was watching a 1080p YouTube video of a train ride through the Swiss Alps and sipping my evening tea. And I thought of this idea to, I'm going to give you guys a Who Am I riddle. So I'm going to tell a little riddle that's going to be explaining a European football player, any player in Europe. And down below in the comments, let us know who you think the player is, and I will reveal the answer on the next episode. So today's riddle is: I play at the back with number 6 on my shirt, but thanks to a German, my face is stuck in the dirt. Who am I?
Oh, yeah. It's a great one. It's a great one. It's not easy either. It's a little bit tough. But if you know, you know. So leave it in the comments below. I didn't get it straight away. So, get ready for the challenge, everybody.
All right, yeah. If you know the answer, I'll read it one more time. I play at the back with number 6 on my shirt, but thanks to a German, my face is stuck in the dirt. Who am I?
Great
All right,
stuff.
If you know the answer, leave it down in the comments below, and we will reveal the answer on next week's Power Rankings video. All right, let's rebuild Liverpool Football Club. All right, let's get started with our club rebuild. I'm going to start at the front three, which I think, is the creative hub of this team. Liverpool have this system of pushing the fullbacks high up the pitch and high and wide. They can spray balls across the pitch to each other. You think about that goal at the Etihad 2 seasons ago where, Trent played that ball all the way across the pitch to Andrew Robertson and he, just clipped it in for Firmino. I think that's the epitome of Klopp's, attacking system there. So if we're trying to, retool the attack in that same mold, let's look at the front three. We've got 3 players that are 29 years old: Mo Salah, Roberto Firmino, and Sadio Mane. I think I'm going to ruffle some feathers here, and I'm going to take some advice from Sir Alex Ferguson, and I'm gonna sell one of our superstars up front. So I'm going to start with Mohamed Salah. He is out the door. Now look, I don't think this would necessarily be a massive shock. There's been links as recently as January linking Salah to Real Madrid. And, like I said, Sir Alex always said every 3 to 4 years you've got to sell some of your best players and refresh the squad. And I think it's about that time. Liverpool are in a down year after a few years of, really dominance and winning a Champions League and their first league in 30 years. So if they're looking to retool this front three, I think this is a really good way to go about it. So I'm going to get Mohamed Salah out the door. Now, Transfer Market have him valued at about £120 million. I don't necessarily think a player who will be 30 next season will go for £120 million. So I'm going to say you could get maybe £80 million for Mohamed Salah. I think that's fair enough. I think Liverpool would probably take that. So if they get 80 million for Mo Salah, and I'm going to start to trim the fat around the squad players. I think you've got some squad players here that aren't good enough to be playing at Liverpool Football Club. I think they've been good servants, but I think it's time for them to go. And the 2 players on my mind are Xherdan Shaqiri and Divock Origi. Now look, both of them have been really good servants. Origi has provided some special moments for the club. But, when you look at the way he plays, the way that both of them play consistently, I think it's time for both of them to go and get some maybe younger, more promising squad players in. Shaqiri and Origi are both on contract until 2024, I believe. I think maybe Shaqiri's 2023. I think you can maybe get £10 million for each of them, so 20 million total. I don't know, is that too much for either of them, Charlie? Do you think that's a good fee? I just kind of pulled that out of my ass.
Yeah, I think you could even get more for someone like Origi. I think someone like Origi is probably worth about 20 million. Shaqiri's been a bit of a gamble in the past. So yeah, maybe somewhere around that fee. But you really are ruffling feathers with Salah out the door. That is so what? Obviously, Liverpool are in a bit of trouble. Perhaps they need to shuffle the pack a little bit. What is it in your mind that suggests that Salah is the one that needs to go out of their team of superstars? Why do you think Salah's the one that's got to go out the door? Given obviously he's their top scorer this season, and he pretty much has been for the last few years. Yeah,
he is. He's if you think about all of his seasons for Liverpool since the 2017-18 season, he scored 36 goals, 38 goals, 34 goals, and 23 goals. I mean, that's unreal numbers. And now look, unless I'm getting Messi in, there's probably not many inside forwards that are going to come in straight away and replicate that same kind of numbers. But like I said, I think, I don't live by many things that come out of the red half of Manchester, but one thing that I absolutely believe in is the fact that, Sir Alex Ferguson said every 3 or 4 years you have to refresh the squad. It does not matter if you have to sell some of your superstars because things go stale. And I think we're seeing that this season. There was that run of games where this front three didn't score a goal at home for like 4 straight games. So yes, there's superstars up there, but I think it has gone stale. So, I looked at Mo Salah. There's been the heavy links to Real Madrid, and I think I really went off that because there's really no footballing reason to sell anybody in that front three because they're all so perfect for the system. So if we're going to raise some money to retool that front three, I think you've got to go with the only guy that's possibly getting his head turned by other clubs in Europe, and that's Mo Salah.
Okay, I mean, I don't want to grill you here, Adam. I really don't. I really don't want to grill you. But I just want to make sure that you're making the right decision. That's all. But, things have gone stale at Liverpool. It depends. The thing is, Mo Salah hasn't gone stale. He's still banging in the goals this season. And if you go, I'm eager to hear who we as Rank Report Football are going to replace Salah with. But obviously, you take Salah out of that team, there's a big gap. There's a big void there of goals that someone's going to need to fill. So, it is a ballsy choice. But yeah, they get big money for him, and I'm sure there's lots of options to replace him that you'll take us through in due course.
Right. So, we've got our players out the door. Mohamed Salah for around 80 million, Xherdan Shaqiri and Divock Origi for a total of 20 million pounds. So we've got a 100 million pound war chest right now to spend to rebuild this front three. We've still got Sadio Mane hanging around. We've still got Roberto Firmino. So here's my plan. I don't feel that I have to go ahead and replace 30 goals a season from the wing. So what I've done is I'm going to get a youngster out wide, a promising youngster who is scoring goals in another league and I think could be a Liverpool player for a decade or more and be an absolute superstar down the line. And the first player that sprung to mind for me was Antony, the Brazilian winger at Ajax. Look, he's a flair winger. He dribbles, he picks passes, he can finish really, really well on the run. He's only 20 years old. This season, in 20 appearances, he's got 8 goals, 8 assists for Ajax. And look, he's not only a long-term future, but I think he could make an impact, right away. Not necessarily 30 goals a season. That's going to be nearly impossible to replicate, to be honest. But this is a player that I think could grow into a 20-goal-a-season kind of guy. And not only that, but he racks up assists as well. So I think Antony's a really good player to get in. I think you can stick him right out there on the right wing. We can't forget Diogo Jata has also come in. While he might be injured right now, the beginning of his Liverpool career looked really, really promising. And, he was really the bright spot in attack at the beginning of this season for Liverpool. So he could also slot in at the right wing. I think he could slot in really anywhere in that front three. We saw that at Wolves. So we've got Diogo Jata as well, waiting in the wings. So now we have to replace the goals. First of all, Charlie, I don't know if you've seen Antony play. I think he's a brilliant player. I've watched a bit of him at Ajax, but I think, he could come in and make at least somewhat of an impact right away, but he's definitely a guy that could be there for a decade.
Yeah, he's an exciting player and a young, exciting Ajax team. So, he's definitely one of the most sought-after young players in Europe. I think definitely so far the choices are looking more long-term. Obviously, we're taking out Salah, a guy who's coming towards the twilight of his career, and we're putting in someone like Antony. Always a bit of a gamble taking someone from the Dutch league and putting them straight in the Premier League, but certainly a lot of talent. You can't dispute that.
Yeah, and I think Klopp would get. I think he could very easily get the best out of this guy. And like I said, in some ways he's very similar to Mo Salah. He's really, really good at finishing on the run. So if, we're sticking with this heavy metal football where a lot of your goals come from the counter press, and guys who can finish on the run, even from outside of the box are gonna do really, really well in that system. So I think they could get Antony in for 30 million pounds. So that means we've still got 70 million pounds hanging around in our budget. So here is my proposition to replace some of those goals. So I think the way I'm looking at this is I'm not going to get one player in that's going to score 30 goals a season, but I'm going to get a couple players in that are going to amount to that 30 goals a season. Now look, I think Roberto Firmino is a brilliant player, and I'm not selling him. I'm keeping him around in my rebuild. But one thing you have to say is he does not score goals, and that's not for a lack of trying. He doesn't really take chances that he gets. A big part of that is his main role in that front three is pressing. He creates so much havoc at the back, and he's a huge part of that press that leads to chances for Sadio Mane and Mo Salah. So I've gone out to Europe and I've tried to find a similar player who, he's not an out-and-out number 9, a player that can be a link-up man, a player that can hit on the counterattack, that can be a part of the counter press. And I've gone for Memphis Depay, Charlie, a player that we have raved about truthfully on this show at his time at Lyon. It didn't work at Manchester United for him, but he wouldn't be the first player in the post-Sir Alex era to go to United, do really poorly, and thrive after leaving. There's a laundry list of players like that, unfortunately, for United fans. Look, I think he's the perfect center forward that thrives on pacey counterattacks. He's got 13 goals and 6 assists in 25 appearances this season for Lyon. But if you put him into a system where he's got Mo Salah, Sadio Mane, Trent Alexander-Arnold, and Andy Robertson feeding him, then I think that 13 goals goes up to 20 to 25. I think he's that good. He can play anywhere in that front three if needed. Now look, according to FBref, compared to Firmino, they're identical in assists per 90 minutes, but Depay has double the goals per 90 minutes of Firmino. So if you put Depay into a system with maybe arguably better players and you get the same goal output and also the same assist output, then in my opinion, it's an upgrade on Firmino. The only thing that Depay would, have to inject into his game would be that pressing. Firmino presses an opposing player in Liverpool's attacking half about 10 times per 90. Depay is just half of that at 5. That's how many presses of an opposing player in the attacking half he has per 90 at Lyon. But it's really different systems, Lyon to Liverpool. So I think he would thrive in this Liverpool front three. So I think we could get Memphis Depay in for £50 million. Lyon are in the French league. They have no TV deal. They need the money. There is going to be a yard sale of French players, or players from Ligue 1. So I'm talking Memphis Depay, £50 million, and he could slot in anywhere in that front three and bring more goals than Roberto Firmino. I'm not saying he goes straight in over Firmino, but if the goals dry up for Firmino like they have this season and maybe even last season, I think Depay could be a great option.
I'm about to drop an atomic bomb on this club rebuild, Adam. You're looking nervous. You're looking so nervous. But I was listening to a podcast about Memphis Depay earlier today, actually, and 99%, all the stuff you've said there is totally correct. He's a great player. His attacking output is way superior than Firmino. He's a much more, goal-focused player. But as far as I know, and I'm pretty sure this is correct, Depay's contract actually runs out in 2021. So our geezer is available for free. So yes. he's going to decide exactly where he goes and plays his football in the summer, which is lucky really because he seems to have outgrown his role at Lyon. I think the trickiest bit for Liverpool isn't going to be shelling out the money. It's going to be trying to convince him to come and join the team when he's basically got the pick of the bunch. His stats are so good in terms of shots and chances created this season. He is going to have the pick of the bunch, and he's been heavily linked with Barcelona. Reunion with Ronald Koeman, the Netherlands manager, who's put Depay up front for the national team. So that's kind of where things stand on that one for me, really. I think he's a good fit for Liverpool. He would provide the goal threat that they would need if Salah was out the door. But yeah, free of charge. It's about getting your persuasive shoes on and trying to get him in the door in the first place. That's where it lies, I think.
Yeah. I mean, look, Liverpool is an attractive place to come. Jurgen Klopp is an attractive manager to play under. And I think if you are telling a guy that he's going to be, not an out-and-out starter, but heavily in the rotation of a team that's going to be competing in the Champions League and the Premier League, I don't think there takes too much persuasion there to get him over. So, look, I think if we get Antony in for that £30 million and Depay in for free, then you've made a hefty profit on the players you've sold, and I think you've got a couple of players there that are not only for the future but can impact right away. So I think that's really retooling Liverpool's front three for another title charge. And so overall picture, you've got Roberto Firmino, Sadio Mane, Diogo Jata, Memphis Depay, and Antony. And I think that is a pretty explosive front three rotation to have.
Definitely, and I think the bit part players that are out the door, like Shaqiri and Origi, will be covered by players like Diogo Jota, who is great, and Harvey Elliott as well, the youngster. I think he's 17. He's having an unbelievable season on loan at Blackburn at the moment. He's going to be some incredible talent. He really is. So when he comes back into the fray, he'll be in and around the first team. So yeah, I think considering you've dropped the bomb of getting Mo Salah out the door, I think that's a pretty decent long-term plan there.
Absolutely. All right, let's move back to the midfield, Charlie. I'll let you take over from there.
Okay, yeah, we're gonna take a little look at Liverpool's midfield three here. It's a big area to tackle, but the simple facts are they've got 8 players of first team quality who are trying to compete for 3 centre midfield positions. They're aging. The average age, even with youngster Curtis Jones in there, the average age is 28. 6 of the 8 players are on over 100k a week, and they're very unproductive as well, because 5 out of 8 of them have not scored a single goal, 4 out of 8 have not made a single assist, and young Curtis Jones is leading the way in that department with 3 goals, 2 assists. So there's 8 players in there. A few of them, Adam, are going to need to go out the door. So I'm going to kick it off firstly with a no-brainer, which is Georginio Winaldo. Liverpool don't actually have a say in this, because Wijnaldum, much like Memphis, his contract is out in the summer of 2021, and much like Memphis, he's also been heavily linked to his old friend Ronald Koeman at Barcelona. Great servant to the club, Wijnaldum. He's played the most football of any midfielder this season, so he's definitely going to need replacing, and unfortunately he's going to go for free. So, Liverpool, no funds to replace Wijnaldum unless they offload someone else. And that is what brings me to poor old Naby Keita, who was signed in 2018 for a club record £50 million. And, the simple fact is it's just not worked out for him at Liverpool. He's been unlucky with injuries. He's kind of not really made his mark on that team as any particular category of midfielder. It's not really worked out for him, and he's not played a lot of football at all. And at this point, he just seems surplus to requirements. I'm sure there would still be a buyer in for him. Transfer market values him at £30 million. So yeah, I think Liverpool should cash in on Naby Keita while they still can, while he's still got a career left to salvage somewhere else, because he's a good player. Then finally, we're going to have to offload someone I like, which is Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain. Really talented, £35 million signing from Arsenal a few years ago, but he's on massive wages, 120k a week. And with Curtis Jones around, I think they just don't really need Chamberlain, which is unfortunate because he's a great player. Transfer market's got him at around £20 million. So yeah, they're the 3 that I'm saying go out the door. Wijnaldum, because they don't have a choice. Keita they need to cash in on. Chamberlain is surplus to requirements. That gives them a nice little £50 million kitty, and they're left with Fabinho, Thiago, Milner, Henderson and Curtis Jones on which to build on, Adam. I reckon that makes a decent foundation.
Yeah, absolutely. I think they've got just too many players in there on high wages that are getting towards the back end of their career. I'm interested to see who you've got coming in, because I think if we could retool this midfield with some, youthful injections, get some of the wage bill down. But I think, there's obviously still the makings there of a world-class midfield 3.
Yeah, definitely. We're going to look for some younger players, players that are around a similar price, so that we're not asking Liverpool to break the bank. And we're just going to try and, rejuvenate this midfield a little bit. So we know that Klopp likes to play with the pace, intensity, pressing, counter-pressing. He likes his midfielders to have industry, very box-to-box qualities like Wijnaldum. So I think they need a box-to-box player. And they also need an attacking, a midfielder that can add like a more attacking option like Keita or Oxlade-Chamberlain would bring. So we're looking for 2 midfielders really in that kind of mould. The first one I bring to the table is a man who they've been heavily linked with already, but he's not a household name in and around Europe. That is Florian Neuhaus. I think I've stuck the landing with that pronunciation there. A 23-year-old German that's worth £34 million according to Transfer Market. He's really, really impressed playing in the 2 of a 4-2-3-1 this season for Borussia Mönchengladbach, who in spells have been absolutely fantastic this season. 29 appearances, 6 goals, 4 assists. According to his Who Scored rating, he has performed better than every single Liverpool midfielder this season. And he's elegant, he's got great feet, he's great at dribbling out of tight spaces. And he's just adept at playing in that more defensive role despite having those more attacking qualities. So yeah, I think they're linked with him already, Adam. But I think this is someone that they should try and see the deal through for.
Absolutely. I mean, you also have to consider the German connection of having Klopp at Liverpool. So, he's familiar with German football, German players. But Neuhaus is a brilliant player. I think he's kind of one of those midfielders that has everything. I remember him scoring a brilliant goal against Bayern earlier this season in their 3-2 win. But like you said, he can also do the defensive side of the midfield game. He's technical. He's got good feet. I think he'd be a perfect fit for Liverpool.
Yeah, he's the kind of guy that he's got the quality already to come straight in and replace Wijnaldum in that midfield just straight away. And I think the thing that would benefit Liverpool most is they are lacking output. Like I said, loads of their players have not scored a single goal or made a single assist this season. These are players that are playing in quite an attacking side in a midfield 3. Neuhaus is kind of effortless in that department. Like I said, he plays defensive midfield for Gladbach, 6 goals, 4 assists. So he's got that natural eye for goal, which I think Liverpool will benefit from. It's definitely an ingredient that they need in their midfield. So I'm going to move on to the next player, Adam, if that's all right. And that is a player that, you're not native to England, so I think you might have heard of this guy, but maybe, again, not a household name. And that is Yves Bissouma. Just before I go into him, do you know this guy? What do you know about this guy?
I can't believe you would ever doubt my knowledge, especially of a Premier League player, with the knowledge that I wake up at 7 a.m. on a Saturday and watch lower league football, but I wouldn't know a Premier League player. I feel like we need to just stop the whole video here. I'm that upset about it.
Listen, I was just checking because he's a guy that he's in the Brighton team. Okay, Brighton. I don't know how many Brighton games you watch. You see, you tend to ditch off the lower league, Premier League stuff for like when Milan are playing Sampdoria or something like that. So that was the only reason I was checking. But look, you know who he is. Everyone else will know who he is shortly. Yves Bissouma. He's 24 years old. Plays for Brighton. He's having a really good season. And let me just tell you, the first time I saw Bissouma a couple of years ago, there was a couple of phrases that just came straight to mind. Diamond in the rough, raw talent, all those cliches that just suggest this guy has got something special, and that eventually he is going to come good on that. And he's got a lot of different aspects to his game, right? He plays in a centre-mid duo in a 3-4-3 for Brighton. He covers a lot of ground. He's really, really hard-working, and he's good defensively. He's really not afraid to be aggressive at pressing and put a foot in. That's actually what the stats show most prominently, is that Bissouma is a great presser, and I'm sure Liverpool will love that. But on the ball, he's fantastic. His dribbling is really, really good. He's got that kind of talent where he can just beat players. And I think he's the kind of guy, really, that could come in and be more of a long-term replacement at 24 years old for someone like Naby Keita or Oxlade-Chamberlain. And yeah, I'm a big fan of Bissouma, Adam. And at only £12 million, according to Transfer Market, I think he would be one of those really clever buys that I think Liverpool should be looking into.
Absolutely. I think this is a player that was going to get snatched up by a big club in the next few seasons, no matter what. He's really, really good, really technical. I was just doing some research on him the other day when you had mentioned that, he would be a part of our rebuild. And interestingly enough, on FB Ref, they do, like a top 10 most comparable players to whoever you're researching. And there were some really interesting names in there, like Tom Davies at Everton, Thomas Partey at Arsenal, Christoph Kramer at Mönchengladbach, who's a player that I absolutely love, Jeffrey Kondogbia, the Atletico Madrid midfielder. And I think all of these players are the prototype Klopp midfield. They're technical when they need to be, high energy, and Yves Bissouma's got a little bit of outside the box goal threat in him as well, which I think they're desperate for. You think back to Oxlade-Chamberlain in his heyday at Liverpool maybe 2 seasons ago, and that was his real threat, was those balls, those shots from outside of the box, the worm burners as we call them. I think he would be a brilliant signing, and if you could get him for less than £20 million, it would be an absolute steal.
Yeah, I've got a sneaking suspicion that the valuation would actually be a bit higher. Transfer market putting it at 12 million, but a lot of top clubs are in for him. I didn't actually realise this until I was researching yesterday, but Liverpool's name have been mentioned. But still, around the 20 to 30 million pound mark would be a sniff. So that leaves Liverpool's centre mid trio looking something like Fabinho in defensive midfield, who is a great player. I think Neuhaus could slip straight in on the left side of that midfield three. I think he's good enough for that. That's where Wijnaldum was. And then on the right side, they've got a number of options, really. I think you could make a case for Henderson playing, because he's still that leadership figure. You've got Thiago, who is probably the most talented player of the lot, but they've not quite found the role for him. He could go there. And then you've got the fringe players like James Milner, Curtis Jones, and Yves Bissouma himself, who I don't think would go straight into the side. But definitely, you've got 6 or 7 midfielders there that there's no dead wood there anymore, Adam. That's what I think about this new fantasy horde of midfielders. I think they're all there to serve a purpose. That's what I think.
Yeah, I think that's perfect. You get the dead wood off the books. You get some pretty high wages off the books. You get some young guys in who, A, aren't going to demand, a starting role right away, like Neuhaus and Bissouma. They're, B, not going to demand really, really high wages right away. But you've kept together that spine of Salah, or sorry, not Salah, he's out the door, he's gone forever. You've kept that spine of Fabinho, Jordan Henderson, the guys that are really the heart and soul of that midfield. So I think it's a perfect recipe.
Yeah. And, just for fun, I did look at some kind of unrealistic ones that I would have loved to have put in there. If I was playing FIFA 21 manager mode, I would have liked to have get in the likes of Marcel Sabitzer from RB Leipzig. I think he'd be great at Liverpool. Marcos Llorente at Atletico Madrid would be fantastic, but he's just performing so out of his skin at the moment that I don't think anyone could get him out of Atletico. And finally, Yuri Thielemann at Leicester is having a great season. I think he'd be good in the Liverpool side as well. All these players are around the 40 to 50 million pound mark, and probably more in real world markets. So that was just a bit of fun, really, just to see who else was out there. But I'm happy with the 2 choices in the end.
On that theme, Charlie, there was one player that actually came to my mind to replace Mo Salah as a right inside forward, and it's so unrealistic. It would never happen in a million years, but I actually think it's a match made in heaven, and that's Riyad Mahrez. I think it would be brilliant, because I think Mahrez, he flourishes best when he's running with the ball at defenders and being able to cut inside and, go for bottom corner, top corner, chip a little ball to the back post for Sadio Mane. I think it would be a match made in heaven, though it would never happen.
Yeah, the sky's the limit with Mahrez. I think everyone who's ever seen him play knows that there's so much talent there, there's so much natural ability that the sky's truly the limit. We'd never sell him to a rival like Liverpool, but again, FIFA career mode, he would be exceptional. I think one thing that I love to note with Mahrez, every time I see him, I just say, I think he's got the best first touch I've ever seen.
Yeah. Him and Bernardo Silva, I think, compete for that on a weekly basis. I remember a spell, maybe I think it was 2018-19 season, where Bernardo Silva was genuinely the best player in the Premier League for like a month spell. And I remember just a few games in a row where Laporte would spray one of those diagonal balls, and it would literally just like Velcro to Bernardo Silva's foot. Yeah, it's unreal.
God,
all right.
If only we had that talent, mate. If only we had that talent, but we're here playing armchair manager instead.
Yeah. Well, maybe one day, Charlie. Maybe one day. I think, Charlie, we've decided we're just going to leave the defense. Obviously, lots of injuries there right now, and that's really what's ailing this Liverpool side. But I think nobody in, nobody out.
Yeah. I think they're just unbelievably unlucky, really, Liverpool, with their defence. And as soon as the injuries resolve themselves, I think they'll be back to their normal selves in defence. So no rash moves there as far as we're concerned.
Yeah, and if we have any Liverpool fans watching, which I hope we do, don't fret, because Ozan Kabak is a absolute peach of a talent. So let the man bet into the Premier League, bet into the system, and get Virgil van Dijk next to him, and he's going to be an absolute talent. But I believe we should wrap up there, Charlie. If you are listening to this on the audio version, do us a favor, hit the subscribe button on Apple Podcasts, give us a follow on Spotify Podcasts. If you're watching on YouTube, hit the subscribe button down below, hit the notification bell to be notified whenever we release a new video. And if you would like to get involved with the Away Days Mystery Kit giveaway, hit the card in the top right corner. It'll take you over to our most recent Power Rankings video. And at the very beginning of that video, you will get the very minimal instructions that you need to enter for a chance to win an Away Days Mystery Kit. Charlie, any last words for the people?
Just, keep your eyes out for the football tonight. I'm sure, look at the Liverpool result, see if any of our signings would have come into play there. I'm sure they would. I'm sure that would win in the game against Leipzig. It's going to be a good week of football. Everyone keep your eyes peeled, and we will be back with another video at some time soon.
All right. See you.